Hello everyone. Hello Sashi.
Yeah, hi. Hi, salam to everyone. How are you guys doing?
Fine.
Great, great.
Hi.
Hi Vivian.
So welcome back everyone. So we will just start probably in a minute's time. Before that, can I know who all have filled the forms and how many are yet to fill it?
What did Mr.
Sorry.
Your voice is not clear. Can you please repeat what you just said?
Yeah, I just wanted to check. Have everyone filled out the forms?
Yes.
Okay. So I have shared a Google link. Okay, it's a very simple link. What you can do is you can open it after the session, and with the help of your parents, you can just ask them to fill out this form. Okay, and submit it.
Okay.
Okay, great. So I will just hand it over to Manish Chicha. He'll continue with the session. So today, what we're doing is we have chosen, since we have 4 lectures, okay, in 1 month we'll be doing four sessions of physics, each of about 1.5 hours. So today we'll begin with motion. So what you will be doing today is, of course, the basics. Again, we'll revise that, and Manish Chicha will help you clear those basics again with numerical examples also and theory. And then we will also, touch base whatever you're going to learn in the 9th grade also. Okay, little bit of that. Okay, great. So you can start off.
Thank you. Can you?
Yeah, I made you the
Okay.
host.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
All right. Hello everyone. Welcome to the class.
Yeah.
It's great to see you again. So a lot of you. How did the test go? How was your physics test? I taught you physics. I am more interested in physics. But how was it overall, and how was your physics test? So a lot
It
of
was
you, I
good.
see, it was good.
Yeah, I was good.
Okay. So I hope that none of you will score more than 100% because you were so well prepared. Awesome. So today the idea is to revise Surprisingly easy. So Baruch found it surprisingly easy. Was it easier than the kind of question that we had discussed in class, or because we had discussed those questions in class, you found it easy? Was it, what is more true? Baruch, you don't want to say. All right, surprisingly easy. Wonderful. All right. So today we can begin with the class on motion. So first, can someone tell me what is motion? What is motion?
Can you repeat the question, please?
My question is what.
Can I
My question is what is
can I
motion?
define it, Mr.?
Yes, you can define. Tell us, Fevin.
Okay, so in simple, motion is the continuous change in position of an object depending on its reference frame.
Wonderful, wonderful. So basically, to so you must be seeing that whenever a ball is falling, so it is in motion, so it is moving. Basically, its position is changing. So when you see a car moving, so its position is changing, so it is moving from one point to the other, right? So to see the change in position, you will first need what is called a reference frame. Reference frame. So for example, so say there is a body here, and we will say that, okay, so if it is one dimension, so we will just say that, let's say if the body is here, we will call this point 0. Okay, and say if the body is 1 kilometer away, I will say this 1 kilometer, I will say this 2 kilometers, I will say this 3 kilometers, right? And so any object, say any object is on this line. So say, let's say the object could be, here, the object could be here, the object could be here, the object could be somewhere else, right? So let's say if the object is here, then we will say that the position of the object is 2 kilometers. 2 kilometers from where? 2 kilometers from the reference frame. I mean the point of reference. Here that point of reference is this. So from this point, this position is, it is the object is 2 kilometers away. Now, if for this object which is 2 kilometers away, you see that the position is changing with respect to time. Say for example, the body was here at time equal to 0 seconds. Say at time equal to after half an hour, say the body is here, or after another 30 minutes the body is here. So let's say the position is changing with respect to time, then this body will be said in motion, right? So anything moving is motion, in short. But in terms of physics, this is the definition. So if it is changing in terms of from its reference point, then it is in motion. Now, what do you mean by uniform motion? Have you heard this term, uniform motion? What do you mean by uniform motion? Say,
It's in an equal motion. It doesn't change. It's on the same. It has the same intent.
I get that you are able to get it, but probably you could not explain it well. But yeah, I understand that you are able to get it in your brain. So now, so basically uniform motion is, let's say, I'll give you an example. So I'm going in a car. Okay, let's say if you are going in a car, so you must be, have you seen a speedometer in a car? So let me show you a speedometer. So have you seen an instrument like this in a car, or even in a bike? It's there, right? So in a motorbike, you will see an instrument like this. So, so this is what is called a speedometer. Okay, speedometer. So what it tells you is the speed. Okay, say you are moving at 60 kilometers per hour. So let's say the car is running at 60 kilometers per hour. So what does it mean? It means that every hour the car will cover 60 kilometers, right? That's the meaning of 60 kilometers per hour is the speed. Now, if you see that the reading on that speedometer does not change, which means that you maintain that constant speed of 60 kilometers per hour, then you would say that you are in a uniform motion. Uniform motion, because you are moving with a uniform speed. Okay, if your velocity, if your speed is uniform, then what you have is a uniform motion, right? If your velocity is does not change, then you are in a uniform motion. Is the concept of uniform motion clear?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
now
Yes.
tell me now we'll do one very basic question on uniform motion, and then we will proceed. So two bodies, one starts from A and one starts from B. One starts moving at 40 kilometers per hour. This starts moving at 30 kilometers per hour. And the distance between these 2 points is 180 kilometers. Okay. So the distance between A and B is 180 kilometers. A body starts at uniform motion from point A. At the same instance, another body starts at B at 30 kilometers per hour. Now, my question is, after 1 hour, how far the bodies will be? What will be the distance between the bodies after 1 hour? So you have to tell me the distance between the bodies after 1 hour. Tell me. How do you calculate the distance between these two bodies? The bodies, one of the bodies started from A at 40 kilometers per hour. At the same instance, there is another body that started from B at 30 kilometers per hour, and they started in opposite direction. Basically, they started running towards each other. Now, the distance between A and B is 180 kilometers. My question to you is, after 1 hour, what will be the distance between the two objects, the two bodies? Caleb, Delina is saying is 110 kilometers. 110 kilometers. How did you get 110, Delina? Hundred and ten. 110. Wonderful. Great. Good. 110 is the right answer. So, if you look here, how do you solve this kind of question? So, the body at A, it started at 40 kilometers per hour. And it is running at a uniform, that's very important, uniform speed. So what does it mean? It means that speed does not change, it remains 40. The other object started at 30 kilometers per hour at a uniform speed, which means that the speed of this object remains 30. So in 1 hour, so the total distance is 180 kilometers. So in 1 hour, A will move how much? 40 kilometers. So let's say A moves till here. So 40 kilometers. And at the same instance, say B moves say 30 kilometers. Sorry, 30 kilometers in 1 hour, right? So the distance would be, so the distance between them would be, so 180 minus 40. So basically this is the distance, which can be said as 180 minus 40 minus 30. So after 1 hour, they would be how much distance apart? 180 kilometers minus 40 kilometers minus 30 kilometers, which is 110 kilometers. Now my question to you is, in case of uniform speed, how do you calculate the distance traveled in a certain time? Let's say I tell you that the speed of an object is, say, speed is s, say the speed is, the velocity say is v, okay, and the time is t. So how do you find the distance traveled if the body is running with velocity v for time t? What will be the displacement? How do you calculate the displacement? Like, displacement basically is a vector form of
VT.
distance. So displacement will be, which is denoted by, displacement is denoted by s, and when the velocity of the object is constant, which means the object, in other words, the object is running, is in uniform motion, then the distance traveled can be or the displacement can be calculated as velocity times time, right? So if something is running at 40 kilometers per hour, so in 3 hours it will run how much? 120 kilometers. Every hour it is running 40 kilometers. So in 3 hours it will cover 120 kilometers. Yeah. So that's the that's uniform motion for you. Is the uniform motion clear? By uniform motion, we mean that the velocity of the object is not changing. Now, if the velocity of an object is changing, so it could happen, right? Like you just started your car, and when you started your car was, when you just started it, so it was at rest, right? So the car wasn't moving. But when you started it, you started to accelerate. And when you started to accelerate, so the car would start, so from 0 it will go to 10 kilometers per hour, then it will go to 20 kilometers per hour, then it will go to 30 kilometers per hour. So the velocity is changing. The velocity is changing. I'll give you another example. When you are approaching a robot, a red light signal, right? So what will you do? So if you see a red light on the robot, so what will you do? You will try to slow down your car, right? When you try to slow down your car, so let's say your car was running at 60 kilometers per hour. So then you started to apply brakes, and when you started to apply brakes, the speed of the car changed to 50, then 40, then 30, then 20, then 10, then probably 0. So the car came to rest. So even in this case, the velocity is changing. In the first example that I gave, the velocity was increasing. When you just started your car, the velocity was increasing with respect to time. But when you started to put the brakes, the velocity started to decrease, right, with respect to time. So both these are examples of what is called an accelerated motion. A rated motion. So both these are called accelerated motion. So by accelerated motion, you mean motion where velocity is changing, is accelerated. Now, acceleration can be uniform or can not be uniform. I'll give you an example. Say, have you seen that some people, when you ride with car with some people, so they drive very smoothly, right? So the car will accelerate very smooth and you will not get any jerks, right? And there are some, while there are some other drivers who will give you a lot of jerks, right? So when they accelerate, the car will go fast very suddenly, okay, and then when they accelerate, the car, you know, uh, it takes more jerks, right? So accelerated, so the acceleration, what I'm trying to say is, so, or let's say when you are in a hurry, right, when you are just trying to start your car and you want to increase the velocity very quickly, so you will press the gas to the maximum and the car will start to accelerate, right? The speed will become 10, then it will become 20, and then it will become 30 very quickly. Let's say every 10 seconds your velocity is increasing by 10 kilometers per hour, right? But then say it has already reached 60. Okay, it has already reached 60 and still you want to increase the velocity, right? You are on a highway and you still want to increase the velocity. So when you are trying to increase the velocity, but the rate of increase could be different, right? So let's say earlier, every 3 seconds your velocity was increasing, say 10 kilometers per hour. So in 3 seconds, your velocity increased from 0 to 10. Then again in 3 seconds, your velocity increased from 10 to 20. Then again in 3 seconds, your velocity increased from 20 to 30. But then if you release the gas, I mean, don't release it completely, but if you release it a bit, right? So it is pressed, but pressed less. So now the velocity will keep on increasing, right? Because the car is still accelerating, but the rate of acceleration could get low. Like in 3 seconds, you are just, let's say the velocity is going from 30 to 35. Then in another 3 seconds, it is going from 35 to 40. So see, so the acceleration was different in the from 0 to 30 and it is different now. Are you getting this? So the acceleration could also be different at different points. So the thing that we will study till standard 10th is basically uniformly accelerated motion, which means that the acceleration of that body is uniform. Only those kind of things we will cover. Okay. Now, how do you calculate acceleration? How do you define acceleration?
Change in velocity divided by time taken.
So acceleration is the rate of change in velocity. So it is the rate of change in velocity. So it has two terms, the rate and the change, right? So let's say the car started from zero velocity, 0 kilometer per hour, and after 1 hour, say it is at 80 kilometers per hour, right? I'm taking an example. So the car started at initial velocity was say 0. Then after 1 hour, final velocity say is 80 kilometers per hour. I'm just giving an example. So in physics, so in this chapter, the initial velocity is referred to as u, the final velocity is referred to as v. So in this case, we will say that v, or the final velocity, is 80 kilometers per hour and the initial velocity is 0. So if the acceleration is so acceleration can be defined as v minus u by t, which is rate change in velocity by time. So that it gives you rate of change of velocity. So change in velocity by time, rate of change of velocity. How quickly is the velocity changing? Rate of change of velocity. So acceleration is v minus u by t. In this case, we will say that the acceleration is 80 kilometer per hour square. So if you look at the unit of acceleration, the unit of acceleration is kilometer per hour square, which means, or if it is an SI unit, then let's say if I had everything in meter per second, right? So I'll give you another example. Say V is 20 meter per second and U is 5 meter per second, and the velocity increased from 5 to 20 in say 3 seconds. So can you calculate the acceleration for me?
5 meters per second.
Right, so acceleration will be V minus U by T, which is 20 minus 5 by 3, which is 5 meter per second square. So if you look at the unit, so it tells you a story. What does it tell you? So it tells you, so 5 meter per second per second. So it is 5 meter per second square, right? So 5 meter per second, which means that the velocity changed at 5 meter per second every second. So for every second, the velocity changed by 5. Isn't that the truth? So for every second, the velocity changed by 5. So 3 seconds, the velocity change in velocity was how much? 15. So this is what is called an acceleration. Right? Now, I'll give you an example. So say, I'll give you a question. Say a body started at 20 meter per second, and then the velocity reduced to 10 meter per second in 2 seconds. So calculate acceleration. So there was a body which started at 20 meter per second, and then it slowed down. It slowed down to 10 meter per second in 2 seconds. Over 2 seconds, it slowed down to 10 meter per second. So how do you calculate acceleration here? -5. All right, Caleb, Delina, Hemant, thank you for that. So acceleration can be again calculated as, so V minus U by 2, which is final velocity minus initial velocity by time. So this is the final velocity, this is the initial velocity, and this is the time. So 10 minus 20 by 2, which is minus 10 by 2, which is minus 5 meter per second. So this is the acceleration. Now, can someone tell me what is the meaning of minus acceleration of -5? What do you mean by acceleration of -5? Tell me, what do you mean by acceleration of -5? What do you mean by acceleration of minus? What is the meaning of that negative sign? Deacceleration. Okay, Himen is saying deacceleration, deacceleration, deacceleration. Okay. Okay. I'll tell you. I'll tell you a very, very, interesting thing. So about vector quantity. I don't know if you understand vector quantity, but let me explain you vector quantities. What is a vector quantity? And then you will understand what is the meaning of -5 meter per second as acceleration. Okay. Let's skip this question. Can someone tell me what is the meaning of velocity as -3 meter per second? Let's say if I say velocity is -3 meter per second, what does it mean?
It means
It means what?
if it is -3 for velocity, so the acceleration of the body will.
I'm saying that I'm not talking about this example. I'm saying that
Mister,
just hold on, Faven. I'm saying that the velocity of a body is -3. It is moving with a uniform velocity. It is not accelerating. Say the body is moving with a uniform velocity of -3 meter per second. What does it mean? Yes, Faven.
I'm not certain, but I think that it means when the thing is returning to its initial position.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so I will explain you it before explaining you velocity, acceleration, and the negative sign. We will learn a vectors very lightly. I mean, I'll not go into the depth of vectors because vectors itself is a very in-depth topic, but I will not be going into too much of deep. So, see, first understand what is 1D motion. So you must have heard what that the chapter called 1D motion, one dimensional motion. What do you mean by one dimensional motion? Tell me that. Okay.
Mister,
Yes.
again, I'm not sure, but I think that 1D motion means it's like a motion. It's like a rectilinear motion. It's a motion that is going in a one certain path.
That's correct, Fevan. Let me explain it to you clearly. See, first understand the difference between, we will talk about 1D motion. I will just explain you the difference between a scalar and a vector. Then we'll talk about 1D motion and then we'll talk about negative velocity. So the difference between a scalar and a vector is that scalar quantities don't have a direction, they just have a magnitude, and vector quantities have a direction, magnitude as well as a direction. Say, for example, if a body, say there is a ground, let's say there is a playground, and I have made a coordinate system on the playground. Okay. And let's say if a boy, I will say that this is east and this is north. Okay. Say that a player, someone who's playing on the field, is moving, running in this direction. So at, let's say, 2 meter per second, or let's say 1 meter per second. Okay. So then we can say that the speed of the boy or the speed of the person who is playing is 1 meter per second. Correct? What is its direction? You would say eastwards. Right? If the someone is running in this direction, say, so at at say 2 meter per second. So you would say that the velocity of this particular player is 2 meter per second in, say, northeast direction. You can say that. So if it is exactly, say, 45 degrees, then you can say that it is in the northeast direction. Yes. Now let's say the boy is not even running northeast. So let's say the boy is running at, let's say, 30 degrees, right? So why will the boy run in that direction only? So it could be any angle, right? So it could be, let's say, in this, at a 30-degree from the horizontal, 30-degree from the east towards the north. Okay. And the object is running at 2 meter per second. So we will say that we can, so if I have to tell the velocity, what will I say? I will say that the velocity is 2 meter per second at an angle of 30 degrees from the horizontal. Okay. So from the eastern direction, so if this is the east, so it is 30 degrees from the east, and the direction is that, and the magnitude I can say is 2 meter per second. So that will, so with that I can identify that this is I have given the magnitude 2 meter per second in what direction? at 30-degree angle from the east, right? So this is what I have told you. So this is how I specify the magnitude and the direction. You see that specifying direction is not very easy, right? Someone will say eastward, someone will say something else. You'll have to say the degrees and all, right? So it can be any angle. Now, think that there is a wire, okay? And there is an ant on the wire. Can you imagine that? Now, the ant can go in only two directions, either this direction or this direction. The ant cannot fly, and we will assume that the ant does not fall. Okay, so if the ant wants to move, so it has only two directions to move, either it can go this way or this way. So either it can go forward or it can go backward, right? So this body, this ant motion is what we will call as 1D motion, which means that there is only one dimension. There is only in one direction it can go. So there is only one straight line on which it can move. Either, so it can be at any point. So it can be only in one direction. Compare it with the field, right? Compare it with the field where children are playing. So if there is a field, so there are basically, so you will need two axes to explain the position of an object, right? If the player is here, you will need two axes to explain where the player is. You will say that the player is okay here, so so you will need two axes. Whereas here you will need only one axis. You can just say that the ant is 2 meters from, say, this point. It is sufficient to tell you where exactly the ant is. In this case, if you say that the boy or the player is 10 meters from this point, reference point, so is it sufficient to tell you where the player is? No. So it can be anywhere, right? So anywhere at a 10, anywhere here. So based only on one number, you cannot say where the position of the object is. You will need 2 points. So generally we do the x-axis and the y-axis. So basically you will say that the position of this object is 2, say 7, which means that you need 2 points to explain the position of this object, 2 numbers. In this case, you just need one position. I mean, one number. 2 is sufficient. 3 is sufficient. So if you tell me 3, okay, I will understand that the ant is here. If you tell me 10, I will understand the ant is here. So one number is sufficient. So this kind of motion is called 1D motion, where the object can only move backward and forward. So can you give more examples? Do you think running of a train on a straight track, is that a 1D motion? Can be said a 1D
Yes.
motion? Yeah. So now in 1D motion, if something is running at, say, a particular velocity, say 1 meter per second in this direction, so I can say that it is running at 1 meter per second rightwards. If it is running in this direction, say leftward, so I can say that it is running at 1 meter per second leftwards. Right. So how many directions are possible? Only 2. Only 2. Either it's going forward or it's going backward. Okay. Now,
Mister,
yes.
can a motion of a car moving along a straight road be an example of a 1D motion?
Yes, certainly. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So
Mister,
yes.
what is the difference between rectilinear motion and dimension motion?
So one dimensional motion and rectilinear motion are the same thing. They are the same thing. Okay, they're
That
different.
means they don't have.
Sorry, I didn't get your question. You got your voice broke.
That means they don't have difference. Rectilinear motion and one dimension motion.
No, they're same, exactly the same. 1D motion, rectilinear motion, everything is same. So they are the different names of the same thing. Okay. So this is 1D motion, right? So in 1D motion, you have only two directions. Okay. So let's say I'll take that same example of an ant. You define a reference point. Say I call this a reference point. I say this is 0. If and I will say that this is 1 meter, this is 2 meters, this is 3 meters, this is 4 meters, 5 meters, this is -1, -2, and so on. So if the ant is here, what will I say that is the position of the ant? I can directly see what I have done is I will have to say that it is 3 meters from the position of reference. But I will also have to tell the direction whether it is 3 meters rightwards or 3 meter leftwards. So if I only say 3 meters is the position of the ant, is this sufficient to tell you where the ant is? No. The ant could be 3 meters leftwards of O or rightwards of O. So to define precisely where the direction is, right? So what we can say is, let's say anything that is right of origin, we can say that it is positive. So positive, negative has only to do with the direction. It does not mean anything else. So because there are only two directions, so instead of people saying rightwards, leftwards, in terms of vector, we say positive or negative. So one direction we will say positive and other direction we will say negative. It's not necessary that only the right direction we will say positive. It is upon us. Let's say if you are solving the problem, it is you who will need to define which direction is positive. I'll give you examples, don't worry. So if the ant is here, I will say that the ant is at +3 meters, and you will be very precisely, you can identify that it is here. If the ant is here, I will say it is at -1, which is it is 1 meter away from the origin, but in the other direction, right? So not on the one direction, but the other direction. So there are two directions. So one has been assigned a positive direction and one has been said a negative direction. Okay. Is it clear till here?
Yes.
Now, when we say the velocity of an object is positive, so what do you mean by that? So it means that, say now, because there are two directions of velocity, like in this case, say an object is running in this direction, rightwards. So I can say that the velocity is 3 meters per second plus. If it is moving leftwards, I can say it is -3 meters per second, right? So this plus or minus is just telling you the direction. It signifies direction, because in rectilinear motion or 1D motion, you just have two directions. So one of the directions is is assumed to be positive. One of the direction is assumed to be negative, and it depends on you which direction you want to choose as positive, which direction you want to choose as negative. I'll give you one very beautiful example through which you will understand this problem. I mean, this direction thing. But before doing that, first we will discuss about a body in a free fall. Okay, I hope this is clear that one direction, if it is moving in this direction, I will say plus. If it is moving in this direction, I will opposite direction, I will say minus. Now, now what about acceleration? If the velocity is increasing, which means that from 3, if it is becomes 6, 6 it becomes 9. So the velocity is increasing, then we will say it has a positive acceleration, which means that the velocity is increasing in the positive direction. And if the velocity is I mean, if the velocity is decreasing, let's say if it was running at 3, then it became 2, then it become 1, then the velocity is decreasing, right? But it is still going in that side, but it is the velocity is decreasing. It is going slower now. So we will say that the acceleration had been opposite direction, that the body was accelerated in the opposite direction, which means that it has deaccelerated, it has slowed down. So the body was initially, say if the body is 10 meter per second, which means the body is running at plus 10, which is, let's say the body is moving rightwards at 10, but the acceleration is minus 2 meters per second square, which means the acceleration that the body is facing is in the opposite direction of its velocity. So if the velocity is forward, then the acceleration is backwards, which means that it will slow down. It will slow down. So, so this object, let's say if the acceleration is minus 2, what will be the velocity after say 12 seconds? Can you calculate that? Or say not 6 seconds. Can you calculate what will be the velocity of, if the acceleration is minus 2 and the initial velocity is 10 meter per second plus 10? So what will be the final velocity after 6 seconds? How do you calculate this? Have you seen that velocity v minus u by t is acceleration? So can we say that v equals to u plus at from this? They are both basically the same thing. So you can calculate the final velocity as v equals to u plus at. So if I do that, I can say the final velocity is 10 plus minus 2 times 6, which is negative 2 meter per second. How do you interpret it? How do you interpret it?
We will use the formula acceleration is equal to velocity final minus velocity initial, and the
Yeah,
acceleration is given negative 2.
I get that you can use the formula to get the answer. We have already got the answer. My question is, how do you interpret it? What does minus 2 meter per second mean?
I think that it means it's deaccelerating in 2 meter per second.
See, when earlier we said that the body is moving at 10 meter per second. So what I'm saying is, if it faces at acceleration of minus 2, negative 2, which means that it is facing an acceleration in the opposite direction. So if the body is moving forward, it is getting an acceleration in the backward direction. So if the body gets an acceleration in the other direction, so the velocity will reduce, and it will become 0. So when will the velocity become 0? It will become after 5 seconds. You see, if I put time equal to 5 seconds instead of 6, the velocity will become 0, which means that after 5 seconds, the velocity has reduced to 0. But what after that? The acceleration is still there. So the acceleration is in the opposite direction. So the body will start to accelerate in the backward direction, right? So the body will start running at 2 meter per second in the other direction after 6 seconds, right? So say the body was here, it was running at 10 meter per second, right? So at time equal to 0 second, velocity was 10. At time equal to 1 second, its velocity becomes 8. Because why? Because it is facing an acceleration of 2 meter per second square in the opposite direction. At time equal to 2, 6. At time equal to 3, 4. At time equal to 4, 2. At time equal to 5, 0. At time equal to 6, minus 2 meter per second. Which means that the body starts to move with a velocity 2 meters per second in the opposite direction. So minus 2 means the opposite direction. Whichever direction was this, opposite to that, the other direction. Okay. I'll give you one example of where you need to. So, okay. Before before understanding the direction deeply, so we need to understand an a freely falling object. A freely falling object. So what do you mean by freely falling object? So if you drop anything from a certain height, so it falls, right? It falls towards the ground. So whenever it falls towards the ground, anything, any object, it accelerates. You see? So when you drop a ball, so it starts with what velocity? Zero velocity when you drop it, but it gains velocity. And if you drop the object from a greater height, the it will gain immense velocity. It will gain more velocity. Why will it gain more velocity? Because when a body is falling, it accelerates. It accelerates. It accelerates uniformly. The acceleration remains same. It accelerates uniformly. The acceleration of a freely falling object is 9.8 meter per second square, or approximately 10 meter per second square. Okay, so this is the acceleration of a freely falling object, which means that if I drop a body, after 1 second of falling, its velocity will be 9.8. After 2 seconds of falling, its velocity will be 18.6. After 3 seconds, its velocity is increasing by 9.8 meter per second every second. That is the meaning of acceleration of 9.8, right? So the velocity is u given by u plus at. So if you know the acceleration, if you know the initial velocity, and you know the time, you can calculate the final velocity. You get this? So if a body, it's okay. Now tell me this thing. So if a body has fallen to the ground from and it took 10 seconds to reach the ground, what is the final velocity here?
100.
Right? So if the initial velocity is 0, the final velocity is v, and acceleration you take as 10 meter per second square approximately. So after 10 seconds, the velocity will be v equals to u plus at, which is 0 plus 10 times 10, which is 100 meter per second. Clear? Now, this is where you will learn the difference between the vector quantity and the scalar quantity. If you do this problem, give it a thought. I mean, how we want to do this problem. So listen to this problem very carefully. So I am dropping a ball from a tower. I'm dropping a ball from a height, and the ball falls. So when it is falling, its velocity keeps on increasing, right? Then it hits the ground. It hits the ground, and then it bounces back. The ball bounces back. Have you seen a ball bounce? So ball bounces back, and we will assume that the collision, that the ball, when the ball is colliding with the ground, there is no energy loss. So we are assuming this, right? So which means that if the ball is hitting with 10 meter per second, so it will bounce back with 10 meter per second. Did you understand the meaning of no energy loss? So if the ball hits, I'm just giving an example. If the ball hits the ground with 10 meter per second, then it bounces back with 10 meter per second. That is the meaning of no energy loss. So if it hits the ground with 20 meter per second, so it bounces back with 20 meter per second. Okay, it bounces back with equal speed. Now, tell me this thing. The time taken for the ball to hit the ground is say 2 seconds. Can you draw the speed time graph acceleration time graph and so 1A speed time graph, 1B acceleration velocity time graph, and question number 2 is acceleration time graph. So acceleration time graph though is very easy, we can discuss that first. But yeah, think how will you draw the speed time graph? So I want draw till time equal to 4 seconds. Okay, so draw the speed time graph and the velocity time graph of this freely falling ball object from 0 to 4 seconds. Did you understand the question? So there is a ball which is falling from a certain height. It takes 2 seconds to hit the ground. When it hits the ground, it bounces back with equal speed. Now, can you draw the speed time graph and the velocity time graph for the object from 0 to 4 seconds? Then we will discuss acceleration time graph. Acceleration time graph is very easy. Just draw these two, the first two.
Mister,
Yes.
can we use for the free falling body the formula velocity is equals to gravity times time?
See, you don't have to remember so many formulas. All the formulas are the same. So we have just learned that V equals to U plus AT,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
When the initial velocity is 0,
Yeah.
then U becomes 0. And if the acceleration, if it is freely falling in terms of gravity, so the acceleration can be replaced with G. So then you say V equals to GT. But ultimately the formulas are not distinct. All the formulas are related. They are same.
Okay,
And
thank you.
and to learn physics, you will have to avoid learning too many formulas. To be master in physics, you just need few formulas. And with those few formulas, you should be able to solve all the questions. So then you will understand physics properly. So tell me this question. 2 seconds, the body is falling, it hits the ground, bounces back. Draw the speed time graph and velocity time graph. Anyone? Speed time graph? How will its speed change with respect to time? Let me try and you can help me. On the y-axis, x-axis, I have written time in seconds. And on the y-axis, let me write speed. Okay. Achha. tell me this thing. When the time is 0, what is the speed? For this object, when time was 0, when the ball had just started, what was the speed? 0?
0.
So this is 1 point, right? And then after 2 seconds, the velocity, the speed will be how much? After 2 seconds, the speed will be how much? When it hits the ground, what will be the speed?
4.
4 or 20? V equals to U plus AT. Use this.
20.
20, no? So U is 0, A is 10, and time is 2. So the velocity after 2 seconds is how much?
20.
20.
20.
Right? And the velocity has increased from 0 to 20. Right? When it hits the ground, what happens after that? The ball bounces. When the ball bounces, what is the speed? So how now what happens? So the ball bounces. When the ball bounces, so it starts going up. So at the moment where the ball bounces, its speed is 20, and it decreases till it becomes 0. Agree? When the ball bounces back, so it starts with the maximum speed, and the speed decreases to 0. How much time do you think will it take for the ball to become 0 speed? So when I drop the ball hits the ground, it bounces. When it bounces, it will go up, and then it will stop at a certain point, right? So it will not go into into the space. So it will stop after some time, right? So how much time, after how much time will it stop? Okay, how to do this question is, see, now think of another motion. Say the initial velocity, I say here is 20 meter per second in the upward direction, right? The final velocity is 0. So in the upward direction, I want to find out the time it takes when the acceleration is how much? Tell me, what is the acceleration? In this case, how much acceleration will we take? Minus 10. Why did we take minus 10? We took minus 10 because when the ball is going up, what is the direction of acceleration? Downwards. So the ball is going up while the acceleration is downward. So if we have taken the velocity as 20 plus 20, which means, so we have assumed the upward direction as positive in our subtle mind. So we haven't said that we are assuming the upward direction is positive, but we have actually done that by saying that the velocity is 20 meter per second plus 20. We have indirectly said that the upward direction is positive. So anything that is going upwards, I will call it positive, which means that if the acceleration is downwards, I will have to call acceleration negative. So here the acceleration is negative 10. So how much is the time taken? So V equals to U plus AT. So V is 0, U is 20, acceleration is minus 10, T I want to find out. T is how much? 2 seconds. right? So in terms of, if you want to draw this graph, so basically the speed increases, speed increases, speed increases, speed increases, and it becomes 20, and then it hits the ground. Then the speed starts to decrease, 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 and after 4 seconds the speed becomes 0. This is the speed time graph. Any questions on the speed time graph? Okay. Let's now see how velocity time graph will be different, and it will be like, it will surprise you.
Peter,
Yes.
how can we find the area of this graph that you drew?
How to find the area of the graph?
Yes,
Why do you want to find the area of the graph?
just to know.
I mean, this is a triangle. How do you find area of a triangle? Half base
1
into half,
over 2 base times 8.
right? So you know the base 4, you know the height 20. So half base into height, right? So that's how you find out area. But there is no reason why you want to find out area of this. Anyways, we are drawing the velocity time graph. So in the velocity time graph, so for the first 2 seconds, the graph would be the same, right? The velocity was 0, then the velocity increased. When we say velocity is increasing, 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 which direction are we assuming positive? When the ball is falling, and we are saying that the velocity is increasing with time, which means that which direction are we taking positive? We are taking the downward direction as positive. So I will say the velocity is 0 here and 20 meter per second here, like plus 20, like it is going downwards with 20. When the ball hits the ground, after that, what happens? What is its velocity after that? Just after hitting the ground, what is the velocity of the ball? What will be the velocity of the ball just after hitting the ground? Tell me, tell me. It will be 20, but in the upward direction. Just before hitting the ground, it was 20 in the downward direction. So if we are calling that 20 in the downward direction as plus 20, then 20 in the upward direction we'll have to call minus 20. So the velocity time graph will look like this. So when it hits the ground, the velocity changes from plus 20 to minus 20, because it was going downwards earlier with 20. Now it's going upwards with 20. So because the direction has changed in this one, so has the direction been captured? No, only the magnitude is getting captured, that the ball is becoming faster, faster, faster. And then from here it is becoming slower, slower, slower. But where does it take care that at once it was going downwards and once it was going upward? The direction has not been taken care of here. When you have to draw the velocity time graph, you will have to take care of the direction as well. So if you are saying that the velocity is increasing with respect to time, so that the velocity becomes 20 meter per second. So when it hits the ground, after hitting the ground, the velocity is 20, but in the opposite direction. So we will say that the velocity has become minus 20, because it is 20, but in the other direction, right? And then it will start slowing down. So it will become minus 20, then it will become minus 15, then it will be minus 10, it will be minus 5, then it will stop. right? So the velocity, you see, it from minus 20, it will keep on becoming slightly going towards the positive, and it will become 0 after 2 seconds. So this is the velocity time graph. Do you see the difference? I mean, it totally depends. So here the direction is covered, here the direction is not covered. And because the direction is covered, we'll have to take plus 20 and minus 20, because we'll have to say that the direction has changed. Now, this is assuming the downward direction as positive. We could have assumed the upward direction as positive. How could we have done that? So if we would have assumed the upward direction as positive, then what we would say is, let's say the velocity of the object is 0. Then as the velocity, it falls down, the velocity in the downward direction increases, the speed in the downward direction increases. So we will say that the velocity is decreasing, right? It is decreasing and it is becoming minus 20. Because we have assumed, so this is assuming downwards as positive. This is assuming upwards as positive. So the graph can look like this as well. That the velocity becomes from 0, it becomes minus 5, minus 10, minus 20. After 2 seconds, it becomes minus 20. It is because it is going downwards in the 20 speed. Then when it hits the ground, suddenly the speed becomes 20 in the other direction. So earlier it was minus, so now it will become plus. So here we have assumed that anything going downwards we will call positive. Sorry, negative. Upwards, positive. So it depends on us which direction we want to choose positive, which direction we have to choose negative. In this case, if I choose the downward direction as positive, then while the ball is falling, so I will assume the acceleration as plus 10, because the acceleration is in downward direction. So I'll assume acceleration as plus 10. In this type, if I have taken upward direction as positive, then I have to take acceleration as minus 10. Like in this case, you see, here you have said that the initial velocity is 20 when the ball is going upwards, which means that you have assumed that the upward velocity is positive. Upward direction is positive. And then it becomes 0. Now the acceleration is in opposite direction. So therefore now you will have to say that the acceleration is minus 10, not 10. So gravity, you will have to take acceleration due to gravity minus 10, because it is in the opposite direction of the motion. Okay. So that is the difference between like how do you interpret directions. So minus 10, it just means that it is in the opposite direction of what you assumed as positive. Okay. So plus and minus gives you the direction. It does not give you anything else. Any questions here? No questions. Okay. Tell me the answer to this question. So, okay. Have you, so there is one, so there are 3 equations of motions, 4 equations of motion. Do you know those 4 equations of motion?
No.
No? So this is the first equation of motion, V equals to U plus AT. So you already know it. So it comes from V minus U equals to by A. So it comes from the definition of acceleration as V minus U by
Mister,
T. Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but can you once repeat the part about why it's like -10 and the way that is going down because that it's becoming negative because going the opposite side?
See, in vector quantities, the plus and minus gives the direction, right? So here, if the ball is going up, right? If the ball is going upwards with 20 meter per second, so you could have written it 20, you could have written it -20. It's up to you. So because you have chosen to written it 20, which means that you have assumed the upward direction as positive, right? That's why you have written +20. Now, if you have chosen that the upward direction is positive, so everything that is in upward direction will be positive, everything that is in downward direction will be negative. So acceleration, when the ball is going up, where is the acceleration? Acceleration is downwards. So the acceleration is downwards, so you will have to assume that the acceleration is -10, not 10. Right? Because you're assuming things that is going upwards as positive, upward direction as positive, you're assuming. To solve the same question, it is equally right to assume that the initial velocity is -20, in which case you have assumed that anything that going upwards is negative. So in this case, so which downward is positive. So in this case, you can say the acceleration is +10 because acceleration is downward. So it depends on you. So if you say that u is +20, then you have to say acceleration is -10 because acceleration is in opposite direction of velocity. If you are saying vu is -20, which means that you have assumed that anything going upwards is negative velocity. So you have assumed downwards is positive. So if downwards is positive, then acceleration has to be positive. Right? Still, you see, they're in opposite direction. So motion and acceleration is in opposite direction. This has to be captured in the sign. Right? So now it is up to you, like whether you want to say acceleration positive and velocity negative, or velocity positive and acceleration negative. It will give you the same answer. Both are equally correct. You have to assume one direction as positive and the other direction, opposite direction, is negative. Everything going in opposite direction will be called negative. Anything going in for the same direction you have assumed positive will be positive. Clear, Fevin?
Okay. Yeah, thank you, Mr.
Now so I was talking about equations of motion. So the first equation of motion is called V is V equals to U plus AT. How does it come? It comes from the definition of acceleration of S equals to A equals to V minus U by T, rate of change of velocity. Right? So these two are the same thing written differently. Then there is a second equation of motion, S equals to UT plus half AT square. Have you seen this equation earlier before? Have you or have you not? So if you haven't, I will not go into it. I can go it later, go into depth later. I mean, I can move on. Fevin, do you know this?
Mr. I did not know this.
You did not.
Me too, I don't know it.
So because yeah, it's there in the book, so I thought that you might know it. So no problem. No problem. So we will not go there now. We will go in the main class. I mean, because it's like it will take some time. It's not so simple. So we'll discuss about this little later. So the last topic that we can discuss for today is a topic called relative velocity. Okay, and we will solve n number of problems. Don't worry. When we start solving problems, we will solve at least 10-20 problems on these kind of topics, so that your equations of motions, it becomes like, at least like these type of topic requires 10-20 problems to be solved. Only then you gain that confidence. So before that, my paper is over. So let me talk about what is a concept called relative velocity. Okay. So relative velocity, okay, I'll give an example. So this is a walkway. So these kind of things are there in the airport. So if you have seen, I don't know if you have seen it. So what happens is, let's say if the airport is very large, people want to move from one place to the other. So if the airport is too big, so you don't want to walk like 15, 20, 30 minutes because the people will get tired, right? So what they do is, on the airport, they have this walkway. Okay, so these are in all the large airports. So what happens is, this thing moves, you see. You see, this is moving in a particular direction. So the people can walk on this, right? So if the people walk on this, would the so you see, let's say if you are walking on this and you have to go from this point to that farther point. So if you walk on this, and if you walk on the ground, when will you reach, where will you, which one will be faster? So let's say if you have to reach that sign, you have to reach this particular point, okay, and you're walking on this, or you're walking beside this, I mean not on this but beside this. So which one will be faster? When will you reach faster? So basically you will reach faster
The
because
walkway.
on the walkway, because the walkway, so let's say you walk at 6 kilometers per hour, and the walkway is itself walking at 3 kilometers per hour. So the walkway is moving at 3 kilometers per hour. So if you walk on the walkway, you're still walking at 6 kilometers per hour with respect to the walkway. But with respect to something else which is not on the walkway, you're moving at what speed? You're moving at 9 kilometers per hour, right? You're moving faster. So your speeds gets add up. Now, if you see here, it's coming in this direction, right? It's coming towards me. Now, if I want to walk on it in the opposite direction, right? I'm walking in the opposite direction. Then my velocity, if I'm walking with 6, so my effective velocity will become how much? 6 minus 3, 3, because this is coming at 3 kilometers per hour in this direction. I am walking at 6 kilometers per hour in that direction. So my effective velocity will become only 3 kilometers per hour in that direction, right? Because the floor itself is walking backwards in particular direction. So this is how the concept of relative velocity comes up. So I'll show you an example. How do we use this in problems? So Michael, so we have 2-3 more minutes, and then so we had a 1.5 hours class, so I still have 3-4 minutes. So relative velocity, the concept is relative velocity. So let's say if there is an object which is moving at 5 meter per second in this direction, and there is another object which is moving at say 7 meter per second in the opposite direction, and the distance between them is say 100 meters, how much time do you think they will take to meet? Tell me, how much time? 50 second. Caleb is saying 50 second. So if you see here, so in this type of question, basically you can assume that one of the object is stationary and the other is moving. You can just assume that only one of the object is stationary and the other is moving. So I can assume that, let's say this object is stationary, and I can assume that this object is moving at 5 plus 7, 12 meter per second, and I have to move 100 meters, right? I will copy the same distance. Instead of saying that these two objects are, one is moving at 7 in this direction, other at 5 as this direction, I would say that I will assume one to be stationary, and I will say as other is moving at 12. So relative velocity. So this is the concept of relative velocity. If the velocities are like here, the velocities, both the velocities will help them reach faster, right? Faster. So the velocities gets added up, right? Relative to this, relative to this. So if you assume one of them as stationary, so you can say that one is moving at 12. In another example, say if there is an object which is moving at 5 meter per second. So you must have seen this while driving. So there is a car in front of you, and there is let's say your vehicle. So let's say the car in front of you is moving at for 50 kilometers per hour, and your car is moving at 40 kilometers per hour, right? So after 10 hours, the distance between your car and his car will be what? 10 kilometers only, right? So basically the speed at which the first car is moving with respect to your car is just 10, right? 50, it is moving with respect to the ground. You are moving with respect to the ground at 40, but the car A is moving with respect to car B at what? 10. It is moving only at 10 kilometers per hour. So after 2 hours, if I ask you what is the distance between A and B, you can say the relative velocity is 10 kilometers per hour. So 2 hours will be what? 20 kilometers.
20.
20. That's correct. So this is the concept of relative velocity. So on this question, I will give you a very, very interesting question and we'll call it a day. Just try this. So there is a
Mister,
yes.
I don't understand relative motion.
So we'll explain it to you probably in the next, classes, because it will be a time consuming thing. We are already 1.5 hours, so I'll explain it to you again. So there are two trains. Okay, two trains, one train is moving in this direction and one train is moving in this direction. Write it down. The problem is a little complicated. This is running at 50 kilometers per hour. This is running at 20 kilometers per hour. Okay. Now the distance between these two cars is trains is 200 kilometers. Okay, they are on the same track, right? Running towards each other. So my question is, yeah, in short, basically in relative velocity, what you do is, so Caleb is also asking, so Kevin, so whenever they are in opposite direction, the relative velocity gets added up. I will explain the logic later. I mean, you just try to feel that thing, that let's say if two cars are running towards each other, right? So with respect to my car, the other car is like, you see how quickly it passes, right? So if you see a car coming from the other side and your car is moving on that side, so basically with respect to your car, that other car is moving very very fast, right? If you think that your car is stationary, then that car is moving very rapidly, because your velocity and his velocity, car velocity, gets added up because they're in opposite direction. If they're in the same direction, then subtraction. For example, you are driving with there's another car which is driving towards the left of you and you are driving. Okay, then you see that if you both are driving at the same speed, so basically you will remain parallel. So ultimately, basically, what you are trying to say is there is no relative velocity between you, because the relative velocity is zero. Both are running at 40 or both are running at 50. If they're in the same direction, the velocity gets subtracted. If in the opposite direction, the velocity gets added. That's the basic principle. I mean, just try to observe examples and you will understand it. So 50 kilometers per hour, 20 kilometers per hour in this direction and this direction. Now now the total distance is 200 kilometers. Now there is a fly. There is a fly which is sitting here. That fly can fly at 80 kilometers per hour. That fly can fly at 80 kilometers per hour. So what it does, it goes, hits the train, comes back, hits this train, comes back, hits this train, comes back, hits this train, comes back, right? Because both are moving. So hits this train, comes back, hits this train, comes back, till both the trains collide. My question is, what is the distance traveled by the fly before the trains collide? Did you get the question? So the train speed is 50 and 20. The fly speed is 80. The fly is sitting on one train. It runs, flies to the other train, comes back. So when it comes back, till that time the train would have moved further. It hits this train, then goes to this train. Till that time that this train would have moved ahead. I mean, it keeps doing that. Ultimately, the trains will collide. So my question is, how much is the distance that a fly covers before the train collides? Think it is not a difficult question. It is an easy question, but it is, you will have to apply some logic. Okay. All right. All right then. I think we can end the class here. If you have any questions, you can ask now. You don't have questions. All right then, Sashi, I think we can end the class over here.
Yeah, right. Thanks. So what I'll do, students, is that I will upload this recorded lecture, okay, tomorrow morning, and I will send you the link so that all of you can go through it. Because the coming Saturday we will have the test on most of the topics, okay, that we have learned. Not on every topic, but most of the topics that you have learned, and you are fine with it. Okay, we will have the test on that. And as I said, this summer course has topics which we have covered and which you will be covering in 9th grade. So that is the reason why Manish Teacher is giving you a few more new topics so that you are ready from before, right? Right, like the different formulas of motion and relative velocity also. So those things you will study, even vectors, as a matter of fact. So all those things are there in your 9th grade. We have studied your syllabus, and only then we have designed the summer course. So great then. We will see you tomorrow. We'll have biology, and I will upload the lesson and send it tomorrow. Okay. Okay, everyone. See you. Bye.
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 Ciao.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
See you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. House. I'm out.